Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guest today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We have a killer episode lined up today. It's a topic that I find a lot of people are stuck with, even into running and growing successful air quote businesses, and that is the entrepreneurial mindset as opposed to the employee mindset. A lot of us get stuck in, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Well, let's shift our mindset a little bit, and we have a clarity coach with us today, Emad Aldajani, and he is joining us all the way from where all of our fans live in New Zealand. We love you, Kiwis. Welcome to the show, Emad. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So we were joking before we started recording. We do have a very large New Zealand following and audience with this show, which is fantastic. I'm so excited that you're joining me there, and it's very early in the morning. So I hope you brought your coffee, but you're going to share the entrepreneurial mindset and what you help coach your clients through. So let's unpack this a little bit. We'll start at the beginning. How do you define the entrepreneur mindset?
It's the ability to exchange what you have for money. That's because now when we're talking about entrepreneurs, within this context, we are talking about mainly financial stability for financial growth. So as entrepreneur, you have first thing you have to develop the ability to exchange what you have, value, skills, services, product for money. If we look at it in this way, so this is for entrepreneurs. If we look at employees, they have only one thing to exchange: time for money. And that's what I believe the biggest issue. Once a person understands that I can generate, if I have limited amount of time. So if I exchange my time for money, always I'll have limited income. However, I have unlimited values. Always I can create values. Always I can be creative. I can create more services, more product. In that sense, you can upgrade yourself. You can earn more money by creating more value. But more importantly than that, you must learn to sell your value. Because if you have a value and no one knows about it, well, it's valuable to you, but it's not valuable in the marketplace. It's not valuable to people. So in that sense, you will not have that exchange.
Yeah, that's such a good point too, because I think the word entrepreneur in today's society is really overused. The definition that I like to use is someone that it solves a problem and makes a profit. It is not. We just slap it on everything. If you have a side hustle and you copy and paste things, people think that's an entrepreneur. I really disagree, and it sounds like your definition is much more in line with what I described. So I'm curious though, when you go from, most business owners start their businesses because they are either really good employees or they have a passion for providing a product or a service, which is where a lot of the problems seem to come in, because we approach it with that employee mindset of, if I do something for a long period of time, it must be valuable, right? Like if I work hard at it, it must be valuable. So I know you disagree with that, and we need to shift our mindset. What are some of the things we need to be aware of when we're developing the entrepreneurial mindset?
Okay. The first thing first, you have to understand that what you are providing is for the marketplace. You are not providing for yourself. You are not providing something just because people say, oh, it's good, it's valuable. The real question is, I'm providing something. Are people willing to pay me for what I'm providing? That's where the changes start to happen. When you understand this point, it changes everything. Because a lot of time, this is from my personal experience, it was one of my biggest mistakes. When I started, I was just creating value. But then at some point, I said, wait a second, there is the values, but where is the money? So at that point, something clicked, and I started to do even more research. And what I found is I have value, but to whom I am providing the value? And that's the key point here. To whom you provide your value? Is it to the people who complement your value, who love your value, or who are willing to pay for your value?
Yeah, it's if you provide value but don't make money from it, you're a philanthropist. Or
Yeah.
you're a broke business owner. Nobody wants to be that, and we don't want you to be that on this show. So how do how do we go from we have a value, whether that's a product, a physical product, a service, a digital download, or anything like that. You
Mhm.
find your ideal client, the people who you serve, who place value on your product or service, and then you have to actually sell them something. So how do we cross that bridge from going, okay, I I'm an entrepreneur, I have to
Mhm.
get this value to the marketplace, and I have to make money for it. That is a big step from the thinking that we're taught, if we want to say that's the employee mindset. But even as I shared with you before we started recording, our clients, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs, they tend to be stuck in that mindset. They grow big businesses, but their first thought is, how do I do this? So how do we bridge that gap and become the entrepreneur at that point? Once we have our product, we've identified the marketplace, how do we then go sell it?
Now, it depends on the time because the way we sell changed over time. Let me talk about current time based on my personal experience. Okay. Number one, social media. And honestly, I heard a lot of people talk about it, but I don't believe it that much because it's noisy. If I am an employee, how will I do it? Number one, I will keep my job. I will not leave my job. That's number one. So I have guaranteed income. And what will I do? I will start to experiment with ads. I'll create different ads. And now, as a matter of fact, it's much easier because you can use AI. Okay, it depends on which AI you use. You can use it to create an ad for you, and you experiment with it through Facebook, through Google Ads, through other channels of marketing. That's just my personal belief, and let me tell you why. Because when you use ad, it's targeted. So that means it's not really crowded. When you target specific type of people, it's not really crowded as much as when you do social media posting. Because in social media, it's about the more you post, probably the more you will get people to notice that you exist. Well, you're competing the competitors a lot, and there are people who have teams to post all day long. So when you start in the starting point, I would suggest to keep your job and then to experiment with ads. Once you start to generate momentum, now you can work on social media. It will be, but then you will need team. And this is the second thing. So number one, um, keep your job, pay for ads, and then you need to have a team. That's a big difference between being an employee and being an entrepreneur. It's it's so hard, almost impossible to make that shift without having the right people around you. Because if you meet entrepreneurs, you will see they are thinking differently, they act differently, their skills are differently. And more importantly, what I have noticed, entrepreneurs think on how to sell the value with less possible time from their end. So how can they have team? How can they have people around them to help them sell? Versus the employee or even freelancer where they have to do all the work themselves all day long, which is the same thing. Time, they are exchanging time for value, and this is how and this is what I believe what will help to make the transition.
Yeah. So how do you, before I ask that question, there are, I don't know the exact stats around it, but out of all the small businesses, at least in the United States, is the stat that I've seen. All of the small businesses, there's about 50, mid 50% that have no employees. They're solopreneur, and they may not even have a VA. They may not freelance things. So that step of like outsourcing work is a huge hurdle in growing a business, but it's the only thing holding you back from growing your business, in my opinion. Like if you don't outsource and you take on all the work yourself, you're not even an entrepreneur. You're just like a job owner at that point. So how do you help people get past that mindset of actually hiring their first, whether employee, freelancer, VA, whatever it is, how do you help people get past that hurdle?
Okay, number one, you have to have a crystal clear contract. Contract is critical. What do you want from them? What do they want from you? And what's the outcome? You must know the outcome that you expect from them. This number one. You have things crystal clear before you start to approach people. This number one. Number two, you can seek freelancer. I don't like that this way of kind of reaching people to help me, but this is an option if you don't have that much money. What I love to do is attending workshops and meet people and connect with people. Even now you can use even meetup for groups, where you go to these groups and you meet those people, and you will meet people who have the skills that you are missing in your business. And now all you have to do is to negotiate the percentage or how much you want to pay them. So these are two ways. Now also you have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have to find a way to meet people and then connect with them, instead of just hiring freelancer. And let me tell you why. When you hire freelancer, they already have their services, so you have to fit into their services. But when you meet people and you negotiate with them and then you make the agreement, it's you make the adjustment that you have the service that you want them to fulfill. But does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting too, because it can be tough to take that jump from, even if it's a part-time employee, there's this responsibility that comes with it. I think back to a number of years ago when I hired my first employee, it was to the point where I was killing myself from doing too much work, because there was that fear of like, wow, I'm responsible for another person's income at this point. If I bring this person on, and I'm responsible for their job and their family, and there's a lot of responsibility. So I think that's what holds a lot of people back from the first employee. Everyone after that tends to get easier as you scale. But the piece of, I never looked at it from the aspect of, you're working with someone else's business as a freelancer, and they don't necessarily want to adapt to you. They want to make you adapt to them. So that may even slow you down in your growth and in your hiring journey.
Yes, that's correct. Actually, when I started, that happened to me so many times, where I hired someone and I'll get these promises, but then when I see what they deliver, I said, like, this is not what I'm after. Until later, I realized there's something is off. So I started to meet people, and actually, now there are companies who adjust their programs to what you want. So this is another way of doing it. If you don't want to meet people, but yeah, it's of course it's paid services. There are companies that, okay, what's your services? What do you have to offer? And we will adjust our program based on the outcome you seek.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to touch real quick. You have a pretty interesting download for us. I'm going to put your website on the screen here. This is more for startups and people wanting to get into being an entrepreneur and having their own company. Talk to me a little bit about the download you have on your website.
So I have the download is a predictable future, how to create your destiny, which is to give you an idea of how do you create your future in terms of business, in terms of mindset. So that will give you an idea of how I think and how I function on paper.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, before we wrap up, because we're getting to the end of this episode, some of the clients you've worked with and how you've helped them start their companies and ultimately scale them eventually. Like what are some of those hurdles that they overcame that are pretty consistent, that if someone is wanting to get into business, wanting to get into entrepreneurship, they should probably be aware of before they start?
You know, one of my biggest surprises as of now, when I work with people, I explain to them the journey as it is, bluntly and clearly. And a lot of them, most of what I have met so far, I would say almost all of them, they kept their job and then they decided to have a service rather than starting a company. Because when they thought that they want to start a company, they didn't know the journey. They didn't know that's a completely different mindset, skill set, different. You will need different, more time, more effort, more money. So in that sense, that's the people I met by far, where they keep their job and then I help them with their services. Where keep your job, but then how can you have your service, but at the same time, how can you meet people to help you fulfill or deliver your service where it doesn't take that much time from your end?
Yeah, that's awesome. And then just curious, when you're helping somebody transition that mindset from employee to entrepreneur, about how long does it take for people with the right mindset to actually get their new venture up and running and be able to leave their job?
It depends on how serious a person is. So if they are serious, it doesn't take that long. I have seen people make all the shift of their mindset. It's around 2 to 3 weeks. I have seen a big shift, but those are the people who are willing to take action immediately. Some of them, mainly when it becomes to sales, a lot of people have rejecting sales. So I have to deal with that, with this belief system. But yeah, it depends. Really, it depends from person to person.
Yeah, that's true for sure. But yeah, the motivated people, they always just they go get it, they make it work. So if nothing else, if you're thinking about starting your entrepreneurial journey, uh, first things first, go to Emad's website, get that download so you can kind of plan your journey in advance, and just make sure you're serious about it, because it is a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into building a successful business, and you have to be prepared for it. So Emad, I appreciate you coming here and sharing your journey and how you've helped others start their businesses and transition their mindset. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, make sure you subscribe to Harmonious at Lunch so we can put on more episodes like this. Whether you want to start a business, whether you want to grow a 9-figure business, you're somewhere in between, we want to give you the daily tools to make sure you have the resources to do that. Disrupt your mindset a little bit, make you think differently. What got you here, wherever here is, will not get you there. So make sure you subscribe, you follow along, and we'll help you grow the business that you were destined to grow. We'll see you on the next episode.